Asterisk, what did Taehyung actually say when Jimin and Jungkook finally got home? Why did one sentence from him make the whole fandom cry? Don't miss this emotional and shocking story that touched the hearts of millions of ARMY around the world. Asterisk, are you ready to know the most heart-pounding moment in BTS history since the hiatus was announced? Have you ever imagined what it would be like to see three true friends, Taehyung, Jimin, and Jungkook, reunited after a long separation filled with struggle, longing, and hope? Before you continue reading, click asterisk asterisk like asterisk asterisk. Comment and asterisk asterisk subscribe asterisk asterisk so you don't miss this kind of in-depth story that you won't find anywhere else. Also share this article with other ARMY because we all deserve to feel the emotional pulse of this most sincere moment. That day, the Seoul sky looked ordinary. However, for ARMY and BTS, it was a day that marked a new chapter full of warmth. After a long time of distance and longing, two beloved members, Park Jimin and John Jungkook, have finally returned home and set foot back in the space where it all began. Home. Studio. BTS. But it wasn't their return that made world headlines. Neither the warm welcome of the staff nor the silent cheers that echoed from thousands of ARMY hearts. It was a short speech by Kim Taehyung, simple, yet emotionally charged, that shook anyone who heard it. I'm not alone anymore. Ever since the members of BTS began their military service, Taehyung has often performed alone. Behind his charming smile and stunning stage aura, not a few fans feel there is empty space in his eyes. Although he was active in solo projects, did photo shoots, and even performed at various international events, ARMY knew something was missing. There is a void that neither popularity nor a solo career can fill. The moment when Jimin and Jungkook came home, and Taehyung hugged them tightly without a word for a few seconds, it was a gesture of love stronger than a million songs. And when he finally spoke, the world fell silent. One sentence is like a heart cry that has been held back. Did you know that before Jimin and Jungkook left, the three of them recorded a private video message for each other? A video that was never released to the public. In the video, Taehyung breaks down in tears, something he rarely does in front of the camera. He said, "I know this is temporary, but you are part of my breath." The phrase, "I'm not alone anymore," is not just a happy expression. It was an emotional knot of lonely nights, birthdays without their hugs, songs sung half-heartedly because the harmony of the three was incomplete. It was a scream wrapped in silence, then opened with tears and smiles. That day. It didn't take long before Taehyung is not alone again became a global trend. Thousands of reaction videos flooded YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Soldiers from different countries expressed how the one sentence made them cry, as if they themselves had lost and regained someone they loved. Someone wrote asterisk, when Taehyung said, "I'm not alone anymore, I immediately turned off the screen and cried. I understand, even though I never left." Asterisk, others say, "I always thought they were strong because they were celebrities. But as it turns out, they're just human beings who love and miss each other just like the rest of us." Asterisk, do you think Taehyung, Jimin, and Jungkook's meeting was part of a planned promotion or comeback? In fact, no. According to an internal source from bighit, their meeting was not officially scheduled by the company. It was a sudden decision made by Jimin and Jungkook after they found out from each other that Taehyung would be in the studio that night. They just said, "We want to go home." And without protocols, without official cameras, without formalities, they're coming out a few days after the meeting. Taehyung appeared in a short live broadcast. He just sat down, played the guitar, and replied to ARMY's comments. But when one of the fans asked about the moment of the meeting, he fell silent. After a few seconds, he answered quietly, "I thought I was strong, but when I saw them come in, I didn't know I was going to cry like that." Asterisk, his restrained cry was heard, though he quickly hid it with a laugh. This is the part that many people don't know. It turns out that Taehyung has secretly written a song that he keeps on his phone, and the lyrics consist only of short sentences that keep repeating asterisk, "You came home, and I could breathe again." Asterisk, he wrote it the night after their return. The song has yet to be released, but snippets of the lyrics were shared in handwritten form on her personal social media. Just one photo, no caption. But for the ARMY, it was enough to make the world stop spinning for a moment. These are the questions that burn in the heart of every ARMY. Asterisk, does this mean BTS will be back sooner than planned? Asterisk, although there has been no official statement. Reliable sources say that the presence of these three members in one location triggered internal discussions at bighit about a small reunion project. not in the form of a big comeback, but rather special content, maybe a vlog, a collaborative song, or even a surprise live performance for the ARMY. I'm not alone anymore. That line will be remembered as one of the most honest, most human, and most touching moments of an artist who has gone through a sea of popularity and yet still found happiness in the arms of two old friends. When Jungkook finally dared to reveal in a live broadcast that he felt he no longer knew who he was when the cameras were on, the public began to realize that this was no ordinary fatigue. This is identity erosion. In a system built on control, those who are too authentic are considered a threat. And Taehyung, with the emotional depth he often expresses in his art, poetry, and never-before-made gestures, becomes the silent target of a systematic effort to silence. One former creative director even referred to Taehyung as a dangerous variable in his presentation at the 2021 strategy meeting, because he said, he's unpredictable. Their lives are stripped down from the inside. In one of the leaked internal documents, there is a list of unwritten prohibitions: not to post too much together, not to mention each other more than twice a week, not to go live together except in the context of official promotions, and the craziest, not to show emotional closeness that could be interpreted as a form of relationship. Is this what management means by reputation protection? Or is it precisely the current form of imposing heteronormative narratives on public figures who want to live freely? What hurts even more is that both know they are being watched. They know their every smile, every glance in their eyes will be analyzed not just by the fans, but by their own internal team. It's been rumored that after one of the viral lives, in which Jungkook seemed to be silent for a long time and Taehyung stared at him deeply without saying anything, the PR team held an impromptu meeting to determine damage control, as if the expression of sincere feelings is a fatal mistake. And as Taehyung began to be more active in the independent art world, exhibiting his paintings, his poetry, even began associating with non-mainstream artists, some internals felt disconnected from the direction of the market. He was offered to do the artwork in a more commercial collaboration, but he declined. As a result, her solo projects were postponed. Even one of the concepts of her MV was called not in the character of the HYB brand. Despite the fact that it was a work born from the depths of her own soul, control is not just a matter of business, but of who has the right to have a say in their own bodies. Even in the creative process, their freedom is curtailed. Jungkook reportedly wanted to include a heartbeat sound and a personal monologue in his album's opening track, but was forced to remove because it was considered too personal and not selling. As he defended the idea, one of the managers said, "It's not about you, it's about the market." Jungkook replied calmly, "Without me, the market doesn't exist." But still, the piece was removed from the final track. And the public doesn't know, or may be too afraid to believe, that beneath all this glitter, the two humans who love each other the most are silently enduring a system that doesn't allow them to be human. Even in training sessions, they are sometimes separated for no logical reason. If they get too close, internal comments call it overexposure. If they go too far, fans call it cold treatment. They have no way out. Taehyung once said, "I want to touch the sky, but I can only hug the air." Jungkook once wrote, "I dream of being real in a world that only accepts illusions." These words, once considered only metaphorical, now feel like screams. We, as an army, have only been given footage. We are invited to love what is presented, not what they stand for. But the truth began to crack out. And from that crack, we begin to see that they're not just idols. They're victims, fighters, and witness of how terrible an industry that wraps exploitation in the name of fan love. Unfortunately, the more that is revealed, the more it becomes clear that what is happening is not a small standalone incident, but a systemic and planned pattern involving control, image manipulation, and the exploitation of human emotions for the benefit of corporations. One of HYB's former video editors, who was involved in the process of making personal documentation, admitted that footage of Jungkook crying after his Love Yourself, Speak Yourself concert at Wembley was considered, but was censored because it was deemed too raw and had the potential to cause excessive emotional attachment from a sensitive fan base. What is a sensitive fan base? Is this code for an army that doesn't just swallow artificial narratives? And even more painful, hasn't it been precisely the emotional attachment that has been at the core of the relationship between BTS and their fans? But when that attachment becomes a threat to the narrative power of the company, then even tears are no longer owned by the one who shed. Jungkook may be crying for himself, but the company chose to interpret those cries in the interest of algorithms and brand positioning. And then comes the darkest issue, the intervention in their personal lives, which, according to the testimony of former managers, has already crossed the boundaries of professionalism. In an anonymous testimony, it was revealed that Taehyung was once asked privately to not show excessive intimacy or chemistry with one of his fellow members, as the brand team felt their togetherness disrupts the Asian masculinity market. There was even a draft non-disclosure agreement, NDA, contract that mentions an indirect prohibition for members to show excessive emotional intimacy on social media. If this is true, then HYBE has consciously built a system that not only regulates the members' careers, but also limits their forms of affection for each other. It's not just a matter of image control. It has led to the imposition of social roles, that as idols, they should only love in approved scenarios. Is love between friends, deep emotional attachment, or brotherhood that does not fit commercial standards a sin? In such a world, not only the body is controlled, but also the heart. Some fans even began to question whether the decision not to give Taehyung an official comeback ever really came from a creative decision, or were their invisible hands deliberately preventing anything that could have given greater room for unbridled interpretation. This theory was further strengthened when reports emerged that they had prepared a duet song in 2021, which was later canceled for reasons of individual promotional directions are being separated. There is no official explanation, just silence. And in a narrative-driven world, silence hurts more than outright rejection. Furthermore, a staff member from HYBE's in-house team of psychologists revealed in a closed-door forum that there are behavior stabilization strategies applied to certain members, including routine-based indirect surveillance methods. This means there is monitoring of their mood swings, artistic preferences, even social interactions, which are then used to measure compliance with public roles. Jungkook and Taehyung, according to him, fall into the category of artistic unpredictability, an internal label used to justify the various restrictions they have been subjected to. More astonishingly, a longtime employee working on the overseas project team claims that by 2022 there were plans to reduce Taehyung's exposure in global campaigns due to concerns. His classic and eccentric image doesn't align with the modern masculinity of the sponsor's brand. In short, because he is too different, too artistic, too honest, too human. In all this, the victims are not just those two big names. Also wounded is the trust of millions who have come to believe that the industry will at least provide a safe space for artists who have given up their entire lives. Jungkook and Taehyung have given everything, not only their energy and time, but also their souls. They have endured invisible pain, forced smiles, and unwritten pressures just so the world can continue to dance on a stage full of gleam, but empty of justice. And if we as spectators, as fans, as fellow human beings still choose silence, then we not only allow that oppression to continue, but also become part of it. Because now we know. And if we know but remain silent, then the wound doesn't just belong to Taehyung and Jungkook. That wound is the wound of all of us. This story is no longer about celebrities. It's a stark reminder of what happens when love, freedom, and humanity are made commodities. When will we stop being buyers of that injustice? But the most disturbing facts arise from what is not visible and perhaps is deliberately hidden. A former employee of HYBE's internal media control division, who is now overseas and decided to speak anonymously, said that since 2021, the company has implemented a content filtering algorithm based on emotion and interaction intensity to monitor engagement anomalies between two specific members. Although names are not explicitly mentioned, the search parameters shown in the system screenshots target the intensity of comments, fan art, and engagement around the proximity of two individuals with the initials V and JK. The algorithm was unofficially named by the technical team as FENCE because it aims to limit waves of support or excessive attention that could trigger brand directional friction. They even went so far as to order the creative team to cut back on behind-the-scenes footage showing genuine, unscripted interactions between Taehyung and Jungkook. This left much of the content originally prepared for premium releases and exclusive documentaries eventually deleted or buried in internal archives. The reason? It's too honest, too human, and runs the risk of evoking emotions that don't fit the company's narrative. In fact, that is precisely the essence of their existence, to be people, not stage puppets. When ARMY began to notice that some of the live broadcasts conducted by the two were experiencing upload delays or poor quality only when they performed together. Many initially thought it was just a technical glitch. But according to a former Weverse live broadcasting section staffer, there was a special request from above to implement a buffer delay on certain live shows that featured interactions outside of the rundown. If it's too close, if there are too many expressions of affection, immediately turn on the filter buffer or lower the broadcast quality. The goal is to prevent spontaneous virality, he said. Not only does it sound silly, but it is also creepy because companies no longer just regulate work, but also limit the way humans love each other. And when one internal meeting notes that fans' overreaction to these two individuals can form a destructive subfandom, it's a turning point. Because the subfandom called destructive is none other than a group of people who love the truth, who want to see two human relationships for what they are, not those curated by marketing committees and video editors. When did love become destructive? Since when is emotional honesty considered a threat? In the leaked 2022 Global Communications Policy document, it is stated that solo narratives should be built separately and competitively. One of its content strategies bluntly calls separate visual frequencies between artists who have high organic interactions. Build their respective visual ecosystems to avoid cross-emotional associations. This is no longer about industrial strategy. This is the breaking of ties between people in the name of the market. They are forced away not because they want to, but because the system cannot stand the power of feelings that cannot be calculated with an Excel sheet. And then, in one of the accidentally leaked delayed interviews, Jungkook is heard saying, "I like to work hard, but lately I feel like I'm losing a part of myself. Like I wasn't allowed to choose my most honest version." The sentence was never officially released. The agency cut the part on the grounds that the duration is too long. But the truth is cut are truths that are too painful to face a world that is already comfortable with illusions. After all this was uncovered, the ARMY community is now divided. Some are disappointed and choose to stay away. Some are just getting louder. And there are those who still love them unconditionally, but with eyes wide open and a heart full of anger. For true love does not worship in blindness, but protects in consciousness that we don't know yet how this will end. Will there be a confession? An apology? Internal reform? Or will all of this be silenced, buried with transfer news, sudden comebacks, or brand contracts worth billions of won? But one thing is certain, the harder they try to hide, the greater the truth will burn in the hearts of fans. It's not just about Taehyung and Jungkook. It's about all the humans behind the stage who have long been forced to smile, even though their hearts are nailed by a system disguised as love. Don't just be a spectator.